signed the Facebook post. Let me say this before I get into the video. If you're not following us on Facebook, please do so at facebook.com/TRN247. Myself, along with my team, try very hard to keep the page updated with current news and events, so go on over and give it a like and follow. I would like also to encourage you to donate to us through PayPal. We do not make any profit off of your donation. This goes into the production of shows, equipment that may be needed, or in the future for any operation we decide to support and back fully 100%. What's on my mind? George Floyd and the protests going on all over the U.S. Now, if you've been living under a rock, then you might not be aware of what's going on, but nowadays it's hard not to know the news. On May 25th, 2020, George Floyd, an African-American man, died in the Powell-Horn community of Minneapolis, Minnesota, while Floyd was handcuffed and lying face down on a city street during an arrest. Derek Chauvin, a white American Minneapolis police officer, kept his knee on the right side of Floyd's neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, according to the criminal complaint against Chauvin. 2 minutes and 53 seconds of that time occurred after Floyd became unresponsive. This has set the nation into turmoil because the African American communities are tired of white cops killing them. There have been many cities who have had riots in them, many things burned, looted, and even law enforcement have been hurt by objects being thrown, and some shot in the line of duty. I'm sure if you have been close to any of these protests that you have turned violent, you might think your life might have been over with, you're done. I'm not going to get into this debate on my thoughts on the whole ordeal. Let me touch on the Insurrection Act for a moment. I know we have seen people talking about it in several groups we all belong to. On Monday, President Trump, or as I call him, 41020, suggested he would use federal troops to end the unrest that has erupted following the death of George Floyd, the unarmed black man that was killed in police custody last week. This is what Trump said during a brief remarks at the White House. If a city or state refuses to take actions that are necessary to defend the life and property of their residents, then I will deploy the United States military and quickly solve the problem for them. The demonstrations have turned and been largely peaceful, but police in some cities have used force against journalists, protesters, and even protesters have clashed with police. Many U.S. cities now have curfews. To deploy the armed forces, Trump would need to formally invoke a group of statutes known as the Insurrection Act. So, what is the Insurrection Act? Under the U.S. Constitution, governors generally have the authority to maintain order within state borders. This principle is reflected in the law called Posse Comitatus Act, which generally prohibits the federal military from participating in domestic law enforcement. The Insurrection Act, which dates to the early 1800s, is an exception to the principle later codified as the Posse Comitatus Act. The Insurrection Act permits the president to send in U.S. forces to suppress a domestic insurrection that has been hindered the normal law enforcement of the U.S. Can Trump send in troops without a governor's approval? Yes. The law lays out a scenario in which the president is required to have the approval from a state's governor or legislature, and also instances where such approval is not necessary. Historically, in incidents where the Insurrection Act was invoked, presidents and governors have usually agreed on the need for troops. In 2005, former President George Bush decided not to invoke the Insurrection Act to send active duty troops to Louisiana in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina, in part because the state's then governor opposed the move. Has it been invoked before? Yes, the Insurrection Act has been invoked on dozens of occasions through U.S. history since the Civil Rights Movement of the 1960s. However, its use has become extremely rare according to a report by the Congressional Research Service. The Insurrection Act was last used in 1992 when the acquittal of 4 Los Angeles police officers in the beating of a black motorist, Rodney King, led to deadly riots. Can a court strike down Trump's application of the law? I don't think invoking the Insurrection Act is warranted because governors can handle the current unrest through the criminal justice system. The Insurrection Act should only be used in dire situations, and I don't think the circumstances right now call for it. A successful legal challenge to Trump's use of the law is very unlikely. Courts have historically been very reluctant to second-guess a president's military declarations and decisions. The law, for all practical purposes, leaves this to the president with very little judicial review with any teeth. This may be a terrible state of affairs, but it is what it is. What's really getting to me at the moment is the Patriots. I might just piss a few of you off with this video, but I don't care about what you think. I do care about the movement and this country. I am a passionate person who cares about the people. Some have asked why I am so hard on the Patriot community. Well, after 30 years in the movement, I, along with many other leaders, have given you many great tools to help you build and organize. We tried to help you as much as we could, but we see that you was not listening or paying attention. At times, I want to spank you like I would my own child because I do care. To this day, I am seeing in many different Patriot groups of people posting asking who is this state leader, who is that zone leader, etc. This is unacceptable. You've had many years to come together. The only time Patriots start asking these type of questions is when it's already too late. You should have had your shit together so long ago, but your constant bitching and infighting because of your power-hungry ego has really screwed you up. I have said it in the past, if something major was to happen, we would be fucked. And this is so true. No communication plans, no coordination between groups or even within state groups. Sure, some are, but really, what the hell are you going to do if the internet and cell gets cut off or jammed? Not a damn thing, but run around blind like a chicken with his head cut off. I sure saw a few of you stand up for the lockdown to be lifted and stand guard at the barbershop. I'm sure most of them only done it for the bragging rights or camera exposure. So now, where are you during this rioting and stuff? Sitting at home under your air conditioner is where most of you are. Look, I'm not saying get out there and do something. I would never tell anyone to act any way than other than being a law-abiding citizen. I'm just saying, you have talked the talk for years, but now you're sitting on your hands. You are so disorganized, it's sad. You must stop all the infighting and pissing contests. Patriots, you need to be united and stand together as one. You need to elect a real leader for the movement. You need to make sure this leader is true to the movement and not doing it for his or own personal agenda. You need to make sure this leader has no or nothing hidden in his background, like, for example, a felon. I will say this, I am a veteran, but my record does not count. I assure you, I am not looking to be in any leadership position ever again. If you have been in the movement for any length of time, then what I'm about to say here is true and you know it. Again, some of you are going to be mad, but truth is truth. Patriots, you're overlooking great many leaders. Some of these leaders may have not served in the U.S. Armed Forces like me and so many others, but this does not need to automatically exclude them because they have not served, but they may have served in the private sector. I have seen it for years. He or she is no vet, so I'm not following them. I'm sure some of you have seen the same talk, but yet, here is a really bad clusterfuck of a guy who had to go into the military or go to jail. So what does he do? He joins the military. During his time, he washes dishes or sweeps the floor because, well, he's a fuck up. That leads me back to what I'm about to say. Most of you follow a fuck up and lick his ass to the point you have an old kernel of corn embedded in your beard, overlooking someone who has such great potential, the man or woman who spent their life serving in other ways. All this ego shit must stop, and wash that boo-boo out of your beard. I only speak the truth, and you know I am. My next question is, what is going to happen when the military that 1420 has sent out of Fort Bragg? Sure, and they shoot some kid. Again, sure, that kid should not have been out there. But really, how bad and downhill can all this go? I know for years, most of you talk, well, if the military hits the street, it's on. No, it's not. And you know this is true. Again, this goes back to all that ego shit talk. I'm only recording this video because I care. If I did not care about the movement, I would not waste my time on trying to get through to your thick skull with some of the problems that we are seeing. Remember, Patriots, we are all in this together. Over the years, I had to work with many people I could not stand or like, but for the successful accomplishment of a mission, we did what we had to do for one common goal. I'm sure right now some of you are spitting nails and cussing me. But know this, I don't care what people say. I only call it like I see it. You being so mad only proves that you know what I have said in this video is true. The fight we are facing is going to get bad. And again, if what I said hurts your feelings, you may submit your butthurt report directly to our complaints department. I will make sure someone laughs at it. Stand fast, Patriots. Unite for the common good. Don't be distracted. That's what they want. Never take my word for anything. Always do your own research. Godspeed, Patriots. Good night. Renegade out.